We are
Hi,
going to talk.
friends.
Hello, as people are joining, we are
What
going
did
to
you
be
label
talking.
this?
I called it Epstein Files.
Yeah,
It's
correct.
pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting? That's what you're
Epstein
getting.
Files.
You're getting the Epstein Files. You don't
And
really
there's
need to.
enough of them to go around, let's be honest. Like, where
Dude.
do you I mean, you could like, people have asked me, "Tara, where is the big picture piece?" Right? And I'm really, like, thinking about it. I really am. I'm just like, there's a lot going on in my head, and I'm holding on to it, and I'm trying to go as high and as broad and as big as I can. But it's really sorry, my dog, it's, like, all over me. But
I
it's
love it,
really
don't you?
hard not to
Pancetta.
yeah, pancetta out here. She'll get the baby back.
Pancetta.
Yeah.
Look at
That
this
was
baby.
We needed Pancetta up here.
Yeah,
she's
Pancetta, when
the
you think
most
about the Epstein
animal
Files,
through all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the truth is that you can like every micro email tells a huge story. And
Mhm.
like and to completely disregard them is to kind of miss what this is all about. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And the FBI to have these files for so long and to probably have made contact with about 1%, if that, of people who are actually mentioned in the files
mhm,
means, like, this is all so incomplete, and,
Yeah.
and I'm really impressed with your reporting, V. It's something, like, I've always reported on about Epstein and known about him is this obsession with breeding
mhm,
and wanting to spread the seed and, like,
mhm,
of this, like, vile human being, like, literally wanting to create a breeding ground on his New Mexico ranch, wanting Virginia Roberts to carry his baby, and, like, that
mhm,
was when she left. She was
mhm.
like, "I
Yeah.
can't do this. This is crazy." They did get her pregnant once, or like, maybe not him, but someone, and she was in a hospital,
Right.
like, going through this miscarriage. It was a horrible experience for her. I remember her telling me about this, and it's like, this is like, I really think this aspect of the story is so big, and of course, it's shrouded in power and mystery and wealthy women from, it's just and sex, and it's like nothing can just be what it seems. There's like 15 different layers to all of it. So, you
Let
know
I
me
think
tell
I
you
can.
how
I
I
think I
task
can.
us.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to tell you how I task us. So when
yeah.
folks are like, what part are you focused on? Or when people want to ask me a question for something, I'm like, sex crimes and victim testimonials, Tara Palmeri, okay? She knows it. Unfortunately, that's the place where I feel like you've had the most reporting. Listen to the Broken podcast, listen to the other stuff. Like, when it comes to that, get caught up with her on everything that's been done in that world, right? And everything that Virginia has said. The part that we're focused on right now is the fertility industry, the MIT and Harvard connections, because that's a huge part of it and what he was funding when it comes to surrogacy, how that plays into celebrity surrogacy, which is under, sort of public scrutiny right now, and the trafficking of women for not necessarily sex, but potential surrogacy, right? Like coming out of Russia, his gene editing obsession. We do know that he was using the California cryobank. He still has sperm on ice. Like, how much of this was used anonymously to potentially impregnate people who might not even know they have an Epstein baby? I think that's like the world that I'm in right now. And then Sami has been in the world of like, is he a Russian op? Is he Mossad? Is he both?
Yeah.
What's up with the Saudis? Like, and while
I
we're
think.
all doing pieces of it, that's how I go to you guys for which part is which right
Yeah.
now.
And
I think I
honestly,
can try. I
like,
think I can try to tie it together in a certain
Okay.
way. So
okay.
the power is ultimately they want power over women. That's the most raw type of power over their reproduction. That is like when you think about what men like. Let's make it really deeply psychological. Womb envy.
Yeah.
This need to control these women, the obsession with fertile, youthful women. There's a deeply psychological problem there. And you see it in that there is a certain type of man who attracted to him, almost like a magnet for certain type of people who wanted to explore certain disgusting base desires. And and when I say I'm like into the relationships and the geopolitics, I think what specifically, like we can get into the specifics, but the truth is that like as above is below. So as
Mhm.
he was like obsessed with the microcosm of getting a woman or spreading his seed to many women, the same men who were attracted to that as well, they were also running geopolitical games. And certain people were attracted to him, they were using him and they were using each other in order to sort of advance their own goals in terms of big picture things, whether it was scientific advancement, whether it was, energy or crypto or communications or propaganda, whether it was their personal disgusting, desires. And what the end result of this is that the greed and the depravity that was inherent within the United States and much of the West made them vulnerable. And the impact of money and blackmail made the leaders and the security apparatuses of their countries vulnerable. And at the end of the day, getting Donald Trump elected as sort of like one of Epstein's like main kingpins of all of this, and also someone who's doing a lot of bidding on behalf of Russia and Israel and Saudi and now the UAE. All of that has now, they achieved their goal. Epstein was the catalyst for this takedown of the West to be achieved.
He is also very close with Tom Barrack, who's very close with Jeffrey Epstein and President Trump. And Tom
The three
Barrack,
of them.
yeah, Tom Barrack is like basically running all of our Middle East policy right now. This like kind of brings me back to Robert Maxwell, who I also did a podcast on Power of the Maxwells. And, he was believed to be a Mossad agent as well. He died mysteriously off the side of his yacht, the Lady Galen, when, he was stealing the pension funds from his newspaper, The Mirror. And, it's believed that he introduced Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell and that he actually was laundering money through Epstein to make sure that she was not broke when after he died. And so like he may have been the one who got Epstein into this whole ring. I do agree with you. I think that Epstein worked in like a very simplistic compromat style, like a Russian compromat style. It was believed that Robert Maxwell was also working with the Russians as well. I mean, he was also a member of parliament at this time. And like, yeah. He was like one of the few publishers, Paragon Press, MTV Europe, that was like able to work with Russia. So he, it kind of all, I think, started with her father. And that's why she stayed with him for so long. But I do think like ultimately, like this is about money and connections, and Epstein had a lot of it, and women. And he knew that the way to like have even more than just money and connections was to have, information, which by the way, he could also use any information on these people, especially Americans, by giving it to our foreign, intelligence agencies.
And he did.
Yeah, he could be a fixer. As they call them, a hyper fixers. He could, he could use that information to not be prosecuted, like the first time when Maria Farmer called the FBI in 1996. He could be protected with it, but I think like ultimately it was something he could hold over people, and run this insane blackmail scheme for so long and continue to profit.
I also think we
talk
have
about the blackmail for one quick second because
I just want to say we have our answer to this to some degree because Poland is investigating him as a Russian spy and saying that the pedophilia ring was an FSB run operation. And I think to your point about about Robert Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein pre 1990, 89, let's call it. Robert Maxwell's money, what I have read from Zev Shalev's reporting, came from a combination of a CIA slush fund from Iran-Contra, some of Simeon Mogilevich's money, and money from Mossad also to like run, or from Israel to run weapons and to basically
getting
purchase
Saudi money too. He had to be.
I don't know if he was getting it in the very beginning. This is like the
maybe not in the beginning. Yeah,
not yet.
That rich then. I don't think Saudi Arabia.
No, they came later. They're like post 2010s. Like they don't really start playing into the emails in the post 2010s. And honestly, like I mostly stay in the emails. I really try not to like read the details of like the abuse because I don't like that's not like there's no mystery that I'm trying to uncover there other than evidence that they did it and it was not punished. Like that's really it. But I'm trying to, I like the connective tissue of it because the relationships, to Tara, to your point about the power and the money, those like emails that seem like maybe it's nothing, like they reveal, especially when you look at them all together, they reveal like this picture of a man who certain people gravitated towards him and certain people avoided him. And, you know, it shows you that there was a choice in how close people wanted to get to him and how useful they found him or he found them.
This is the
The thing
thing too.
about
I
him
noticed that
that
you mentioned.
I want
Yeah.
folks to let me just say this thing about Epstein and what when we think about Epstein previous to this email drop, I've thought about him as this like monster douchebag guy who is a jerk. And then you read the emails, and these powerful men are like emotionally connected to him. They have like genuine love for him in a way that is so fucking weird. It's like weirder than what I would have expected, like backdoor deal, weirdo guy stuff. And they're like, you're my friend. I'm in a vulnerable place. Jeffrey Epstein's like mothering them through a bunch of situations that they're in, whether that's legally or wanting to get invited to his parties or trying to talk to them about like he's like juicing them up in a lot of ways. Like, oh, I'm gonna send you a girl. Oh, you're great. Like the emotional connection that he built, the vulnerable love to the point that Dr. Peter Attila leaves his kid in the hospital for 10 days because he misses Jeffrey Epstein so badly was the thing that shocked the shit out of me. The wild insecurity of these men and the way that they were so emotionally tied to him as like almost like a mother type figure was extra weird to me.
Well,
He
it's
was an outlet
interesting
for them
that
to entertain really
right.
their grossest, most unacceptable desires.
It's interesting that you said that. So, like, Epstein was able to play on people's vulnerabilities, absolutely. Like, he
Mhm,
found the thing you wanted or needed, and he was able to fulfill it. Like, even with Jess Staley, when he had to
mhm.
leave, I think he had to leave, was it Goldman? What bank was he with that came
Barclays?
Barclays. No, he got him the CEO job at
Oh,
Barclays. Like, he made sure that
yeah.
happened. Like, he was
Mhm.
taking care of these people. But then I think about the survivors too, and if you look at their, like, 302s, like, some of them, they were like, "Jeffrey's amazing, like, I
Yeah.
love you, Jeffrey." Like, these
Leslie
were
Groff
such
loved him, talked
yeah.
about $2,000 here or there, big Christmas bonuses. What a generous person he was. It's like,
Yeah, these were really traumatized girls, and, like, he gave them lawyers and told them
yeah,
that they were prostitutes, and he was saving them, and they believed it, and so it's like, even
How would
Virginia,
they
like,
know?
had at one point, like, she like, that she was so used to it being their, like, slave that she kind of loved them too,
like a
in a weird way.
Stockholm syndrome
Oh,
type
for
thing. Yeah.
sure.
But
For sure.
he made
That's the like yeah,
yeah,
if he was all stick and no carrot, he
Yeah.
wouldn't that's how you get someone like Trump.
right,
Trump is more stick, less carrot.
Yeah.
right.
Epstein, like, had relationships. Like, he didn't yes, he viewed all people as transactional, but I actually think one of the more interesting, like, pieces to analyze is, like, who he actually liked, who he respected, and who he chased versus, like because most people were chasing him for the most part, and it's very clear who he liked and who he didn't, who he entertained, who he thought was an idiot, who was really intimately involved with him versus who was kind of like a passing association.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I
it's
think something that's interesting is like who could have gotten closer to Epstein and didn't. Like,
Mm.
for example, like and I see this both not even as like a saving, redeeming thing for the people who didn't, as much as what it demonstrates what a choice it was for the people who did. Like
Mhm.
Zuckerberg, for example. Would FC not have loved to like own Zuckerberg and like be all up in his emails all the time?
Mhm.
No, he would have. But he wasn't. And like, I think
Maybe he was too
something,
young. I think
no,
some of this
then
is
why is
like,
Barry
well,
Weiss
it's
and Nellie
Sergey
Bowles?
Brin.
Barry
Well,
Weiss,
they're
Nellie
older
Bowles.
though. I mean,
They're
Zuckerberg
not,
is like
they're
40. They're like
Zuckerberg's age.
46. I don't know. Maybe there was a cutoff for him somewhere toward the end of Gen
Oh,
Z
he famously likes,
or
no,
Gen
no, no.
X.
It was anyone who would, who was like like why
Yeah.
is Nellie Bowles so friendly with him?
She was introduced through a Russian. We know that because people were like, oh,
Who?
she was just at the New York Times. And I'm like, she was not. Marsha Drakova, like, who
Masha
is,
Drakova.
yeah,
Oh,
that's who
she's
yeah,
introduced
and
Nellie
I
to
love
the
how Nellie was like
Epstein
she was like, "I was working on a profile of, like, maybe tech people on
girl.
LinkedIn, maybe this," and it's like, "Where's your work?
Here's the
What came
report.
out of
Yeah.
it?"
Just like Steve Bannon was working on an expose. No, you weren't. You were taking selfies with him and being besties.
And
he
look how
was no, he
Michael
was working
Moore
on a PR recovery of his reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We write about Nicole Junkerman today, who's like this
Yeah.
German businesswoman who was an early investor in like Palantir and Bitcoin and like sports betting, like all the things that really define sort of like Western culture right now, and where a lot of venture capital money has gone into and where a lot of control of men has gone into. And one of the things I was worried about publishing today about is 4 times she has had Substack authors removed, because their articles removed that are about her, because she so very desperately does not want to be tied to Jeffrey Epstein, even though she was deeply tied to him, including potentially like him helping her through IVF with her 30 years older than her husband. Like this was intimate connection between this Nicole Junkerman character and him. And I think a lot of the women who were involved and knew about all of this tend to get kind of like sidelined, even though they had massive power and did sick, twisted things, because they're not involved in the sex crimes. And that's where the public's interest can be. But the money and the international influence, I'm sort of hopeful, given what Poland has done and the UK is doing and France is doing, that the US won't be able to deny and protect these people anymore, because they're getting fucked up by the European nations that are holding them accountable.
Yeah, I
Question,
mean,
Nicole Junkerman, she was an art dealer, right? Like,
She
I
was
know she
also
went
an art
to
dealer, which is a great way to launder money, as you say.
which is a great way to launder money, and I also noticed she went to Palantir, and I'm pretty sure, like, she was decorating their
She's a
office.
Harvard
Like,
graduate. She's got everything. She's completely touches all of the different points.
she's in there. He really was fond of her too.
Yeah,
They were like close friends, you know?
there are a lot.
He was a social guy.
yeah.
There are a lot of like I wrote this piece many years ago called "The Women Who Enabled Jeffrey Epstein," and like
Mhm,
this was when people stopped caring about him. But like
Well,
I was like a whole pyramid about of all these women, and like I laid out a lot of these like very prominent society women who just by their association with him and their willingness to like let him be a part of their circles, their high powered circles, like laundered his reputation. I wrote a lot about this woman, Melanie Walker, who he
hmm.
met through Bill Gates, and he helped her, like, fund her career in academia, and, like, I think actually, Sammy, if you're going in that route, I would definitely dig into Melanie and what
okay.
she yeah, she had some pretty high-powered, like, publicists at the time trying to kill the story off, and, like, definitely with the emails now, like, everything is revealed about her closeness with him, and, like, it's just like this was somebody that Virginia remembered, like, vividly as a 30-year-old woman around the time when she was 16, and I think there's a level of accountability, for these people who were of age, were adults, and, like, saw this happening, and it's like, do we put them in shackles? No, but, like, now they're celebrated, renowned in academia and finance and
Mhm.
various worlds. Actually, like, thanks to Jeffrey Epstein, like, he helped,
Get
Eva
them going.
Dubin meet her husband, Glenn Dubin,
Mhm.
um, and this is, like and she's getting profiles in Palm Beach Post and all these places, and it's like their lives have been set up by Jeffrey Epstein, but at what expense, you know what I mean? And I think
Why does Leslie
Well,
Groff
what you're
get to just live in New Canaan and walk her dog down the street and say that she doesn't know anything, when there's
I
a
mean,
file in there of her 2 pages writing what seems to be like a character testament for him, which had to be for like one of his trials. They must have asked her to write like a character, whatever thing. But
that's insane because, like, if anybody knew everything he was
yeah, it
up
was
to and
her.
doing, it's her. And why has she not been asked to answer any questions? I also do think there's a distinction between someone who's, like, in a position of public trust versus, like, someone who's in there and, like, you don't know who they are, you know?
Mhm.
If you're
right.
getting awards and you're making major decisions at banks or companies or nonprofits or in the government, and you're in here, you actually like the idea that Peter Attia is keeping his job at CBS, like because Barry Weiss
Of
doesn't want to
course.
admit that other people are right. It's like, what is the play there? Like,
Well,
what?
I think in a way she'd have to acknowledge her wife,
The
Nellie
wife.
Bull, is also in the files, and, like, once
Okay,
you
and what are
yeah.
you gonna?
I wanna know what
She's not
Kara
gonna get
Swisher
fired.
thinks about Nellie Bowles being in the files. Like, you know,
She doesn't
where's
want to
that
answer
at?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people keep talking about Nick Ribis. He's in a lot of emails. Um, a lot actually, and like a lot of things that are I have to go back to him, but I see a lot of comments about him, and I wonder what people are
Mm.
um why you're pointing him out. Could be a lot of different reasons because he's
Is it
all
because
over.
he's a former Clinton lawyer?
Oh.
By the way, the woman I mentioned, Melanie Walker, she, Dr. Melanie Walker, she was a Bill Gates connection too. How,
Bill
like,
Gates was
sad was
Do
that?
you think
Melinda
okay,
Gates.
Melania French, Melania, oh my god, Melinda Gates. She seems to have sort of confirmed what was like this idea that Bill Gates got an STD and tried to surreptitiously give her antibiotics because he passed it to her, like whatever. Because when they asked her about Bill Gates in the files, she said, that's like a really dark part of my history and I think he should answer for it. So she didn't deny the stuff that's been said about him or what his
like,
involvement was.
she
His
didn't get
chief
into the specifics.
technology officer
She wasn't
is,
confronted with the specifics, but I
well,
think
but yeah.
she could be saying anything about the relationship. Like
But she
I
says,
just
well,
think it's
I wanna know what was the thing she said that they got divorced because of something he did with Epstein that she found, like, completely like, she couldn't get over it. She couldn't get past that. Like, so what was it?
could be anything from like she asked him to stop hanging out with him to she
Right.
actually caught him with
Doing
something.
whatever,
But
yeah.
like honestly, my sense is that like this is a very obvious dynamic to me. She meets him and she's like, I really don't want you to work with that guy. He's a creep, blah, blah, blah. You should stay away from him. He doesn't listen, basically. He just like
Mhm.
disrespects her. And after a certain amount of time, it grosses her out enough and her kids are old enough. And she's like, I'm not going to take this anymore.
Yeah, I'm out. Yeah.
Like it probably bothered her their whole marriage.
You think Bill Gates is cooked? I mean, is this actually gonna,
What does
like, do
cooked
anything?
mean?
I
Oh,
mean, like,
yeah.
is this gonna do anything socially? I don't know that he'll be
No, they're
prosecuted
all going to
necessarily,
still
but
hang out
No
behind the
one will ever.
scenes.
Yeah,
no,
exactly. Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Oh, I forgive you. Like, oh, I get
No.
it. Like, yeah, a
His
He's not winning
technology
femophilia.
officer was in
nothing
there. I
anymore
just
humanitarian awards, okay?
yeah.
Maybe
Right,
that's it. But
right.
he's
Oh, he'll
definitely
be
still
okay
welcome
though.
at the White House, so
Yeah,
who
that's
knows?
true.
Maybe he'll get the Medal of Honor from Trump.
Oh gosh, yeah, could be. You never know.
Here's the thing: they're all going to be okay. The people ask
They're
like, "What's the answer?"
behind
It's like,
bars. They're not behind
Yeah,
bars.
yeah,
They're
right.
like
that's what I mean.
like
They won't be
anyone who met a
uncomfy.
wealthy white man would be.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's a fact.
They're just going to have to live privately like rich people. Like, and I know that's probably very hard for them given their egos, but like, they're just going to have to not be as loud about it. Like, not get as many
Just go Matt
accolades.
Lauer somewhere. Just go be Matt.
Well, Matt Lauer wants to be back in the game. Like,
Well, Don Lemon said, "I think America's ready for Matt Lauer to be back in the game." So, I mean, I don't agree with
why?
that. I don't know
No,
why he says some
I'm
of the
not
stuff he
ready.
says.
I'm not
I don't
Why
think
do
ready.
why
anybody
are
wants
you
that.
owed being back in the game? Start a
Yes.
fucking Substack and like let people
Maybe
follow
No,
you
no
you
don't
one
if
if you
you
want
started
to start.
want.
Substack. Live in shame. Live in
Live
No,
in
I
shame.
know,
shit.
but it's
Like,
like if he wants to talk, go talk. I invite you to build an audience like any other asshole on the internet.
yeah,
No,
you
And if
don't get
people
to
want to hear
take him
from
back.
no. Sammy, they
you,
do, and they're with a bunch of other men who are, like, aggrieved that actually follow and listen to them, like, don't inspire them because they exist.
I know.
Bill,
not gonna listen to
I
me.
remain mad that Adam Perry Lang never got in trouble or any of the
Fine.
chefs.
None of them got in trouble.
No, I
I know.
remain mad that Adam Perry Lang is friends with Kimmel, and I remain mad that he gets to do barbecue pop-ups all the time. I remain mad that the James
Mhm.
Beard Foundation still hangs the medal of a man who is a known pedophile around our neck. Like I remain mad that so many things are socialized and normalized. Well, it was of its time. Like, no, it
No, but
wasn't, and it
no.
was gross. And
That was
why can't
never
we,
trafficking women. No, this is the thing. That was never up its time. That was always
no,
legal. That was always and if a poor person did it, they would be there in a lot of trouble.
it
If
just,
like
yeah,
it's unless they're maybe, I don't know, like a Catholic bishop, in the right place. But
The Catholics are
yeah,
rich, so they know how to sweep it under the rug, you know?
well, that's
They
the
that
would
thing.
do it at
People
their
keep
church.
asking me, is this cardinal in there? Is this bishop in there? Is this person in there? And I'm like, there are
no,
no black
Epstein was
people really in the
Jewish.
Epstein files because he was wildly racist and he was not including
Oh,
them. And not to say, like, so stop asking, stop trying to say, oh, is Jay-Z, is Diddy? No, Diddy had his whole own sex ring, just like the Catholics had their whole own sex ring. It
yeah.
doesn't mean that they're all connected. It means that evil is happening in different sectors of the world. It doesn't mean that they're all one thing. And I think folks kind of want it to be all one thing. So
Yeah.
there's some silver bullet to end it all. And it's like, no, this is still going on.
You
What's
know,
going on at Zorro Ranch now? What's going on at the Epstein Island now? What's going on with these people who were involved with Jeffrey Epstein who are working at banks still and colleges and universities? Larry Summers was still at Harvard. Dershowitz is still at Harvard. Like,
Brad
I
Corp
can
is
tell you,
still a partner at
yeah.
Paul
yeah.
Weiss.
Yeah. I can tell you who's not in the Epstein files. A man
Who?
that's not in the Epstein files. You don't see any plumbers. You don't see
No.
any teachers. You don't see any, the only police officers that you really see in the Epstein files were, Mike Ryder, the chief of police in Palm Beach, and
Oh,
Joseph
Christ, yeah.
Terry, who fought to make sure that this case was actually prosecuted, brought it to the state attorney, not the state attorney, above the state attorney, the U.S. attorney, because the state attorney wouldn't do anything about it. Like, those
If there were
people
police
are not in the
officers, it would be
file.
like random people he paid off to
Yeah.
it wouldn't be like heavily documented there. To your point about how there's like different communities, here's the reality. There's evil in every community. This was Epstein's community was like the global elites. That's who he was. He was
Katie
like
Fang
that
is here.
Upper
Hi,
East
Katie
Side
Fang.
Palm
And the
Beach
leaders
Jew,
of our
Yeah.
countries.
because that was that
Of our countries.
the coastal elites. That's who the
Sammy.
sex trafficking ring was for.
Can we talk about Michael Cohen? Somebody bringing up Michael Cohen in here. Tara, can we talk about Michael Cohen?
Yeah.
Oh, Michael
He
Cohen's
knows
in the
something.
file.
He's got to know
No,
something.
he's in the files because
Yeah.
The Katie Johnson thing.
Yeah.
Tell me.
No, yeah. So I just found a few weeks ago, Ellie Leonard actually found this in the files. Michael Cohen's lawyers saying to the prosecutors in the Southern District of New York, Michael's heard stuff from Trump about Epstein, and he's willing to offer it in exchange for Title 35. And Title 35 means that the information is is so useful to another prosecution that it would shorten your own your sentence in a substantial way. Now, this is a man who, when I interviewed him, said there was nothing. It was bullshit. It was one Jane Doe. It was bullshit. It was bullshit, and has gone on a rant against me. And yet here is a file there is an email from his attorneys in the Epstein files to the U.S. attorneys. And then there's another email from someone, I think it was Epstein, saying, Michael Cohen knows everything.
Of course. Michael Cohen, look, you have to be pretty fucking thick to expect people to believe that he did not orchestrate the silencing of the Katie Johnson case.
Of course.
And I think that actually a great deal of what they have tried to cover up went back to the Katie Johnson case, because that was like sort of the point A of how ground zero, whatever, how you connect Epstein to Trump with a really serious, credible accusation. Like, that is a very straightforward, corroborated story. That was what they were always trying to prevent people from finding out, in my view. Because it really tells that her story really tells the whole thing.
The Michael Cohen thing pissed me off so bad. I was like, this is from the get. This is a lesson for election season.
He's such a bad liar. He always does the same exact gig. I went to jail. I'm the only one who went to jail for him. And it was all me. I've never heard of Katie Johnson. It was somebody else. And I never went to Ukraine. I've never been to Ukraine. I never had a Prague. I've never been to Prague. I don't have a passport. That's Michael Cohen. He always does the whole thing.
Liar.
He's not a good liar.
Oh, and apparently, according to Lev, who has texts, he asked Lev for George Santos's information. So
I saw that one
how
too.
to get a pardon. I'm like,
Cohen would love. Cohen would love to be back in if he can get back in.
Of course he would.
He would in a hot.
But this is my warning to people in politics, okay? Let's stop going after somebody who used to be Trump and MAGA-y and trying to make them a left-wing superstar. Like, it's just not worth it to do. That people were very willing to give Michael Cohen, MSNBC, Midas Touch. I love the boys at Midas. No shade to them. I'm just saying, like, it was a lot of him all of a sudden getting a ton of platform in left-wing spaces and left-leaning media spaces when he was fucking lying the whole time. So, like, let's not do that again.
Yeah, I heard him on MSNBC being like, I've
never been to Prague.
Lying.
But I could just tell from the sound of his voice. And I'm like, wait, what?
No.
I just know he didn't go to the island. And I'm like, and there was no follow-up question.
On the weekend when he was like, I never.
The lights went off and I was like, wait, you were working on Stormy Daniels. You were working on Karen McDougal at the same exact time as the Katie Johnson case was filed.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they just ask, what do you mean, Michael? You were the fixer.
He also gets
a major lawsuit that was filed against him 3 times?
He gets very like, no, no, no. He goes from very, sort of just casual to like, no, absolutely nothing. I know they were never, I never even heard Jeffrey Epstein's name.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry,
Crazy.
that's not possible.
So emphatic.
Yeah.
Come on. Look,
Right.
it's literally like, nobody's done more for sex trafficking, victims than me.
You know who has a tell, though, is Tara. I could tell when Tara is interviewing somebody and she's got them on something because your eyes just get like a little bit. And when you were talking to Michael Cohen, I knew you were going to get his ass because he was a liar. And you're very good at catching that and holding it in a way that you give them enough space to confess to their lying or to freak out. And when I was watching it, I was like, she's got him. She's got him because he's so obviously lying in the way you can hold your face and be like, I don't think that's true. And then they freak. It's a master class in journalism face.
No, you're sweet. I don't know where that came from, but I was just like that. I felt it in my gut. Do you know what I mean? I think you would have done the exact same thing because in some ways, too combative with them, it's going to put them on their back heel and denying too much. And in a way, you have to kind of be like, yeah, and let them keep like talking so that they actually like.
It was like we were watching Criminal Minds. Tara was in there journalisming.
They should have done that on the weekend.
And then he tried to shit on you, and everybody who watches the video is like, she clearly got your ass. She clearly
Tara Palmeri.
Absolutely lying.
Yeah, well, whatever. I'm fine with that. The other person who really is bothering me right now is Michael Wolff. And I mean, like, that is
Straight to jail. Straight to jail, Michael Wolff. What's going on with you?
I know. You knew about, like, you were his pal, his image consultant for so long. Like, sending pictures from your wedding. Like, what? Giving him drafts of your pieces that you never wrote. It's like,
I know.
Publish, like, just to flatter him. You want to buy the New York Mag with him and Harvey Weinstein?
I know.
Wasn't that before the conviction, though? Like, wasn't that?
Doesn't matter. We knew
I agree, but I'm saying, like, it was.
Sure.
Everybody knew about Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, like.
Peggy Siegel, the publicist.
Oh, she's all over it.
Get a child from Africa. It'll be so Madonna.
Wait, someone says Michael Wolff is suing Melania. Listen, that's a performance because he knows that Melania will never sue him because he actually knows all the stuff. And he's not saying it. And he's not saying it.
Melania in the Files does not look good. It confirms a lot of reporting from people like Andrew Lowney, who wrote a book that is not allowed to be published in America. And in his book, he says that she was with Epstein first. And then it was introduced to Trump. Now, these are tips, obviously. So you have to like look at them for what they're worth. But it is the same story that is in Andrew Lowney's book, entitled, and he's a really well-respected journalist in the UK. I do want to like mention one other thing in my that I wrote this week because I think it's important, and I'll keep it short because it's a bit of a conflict of interest, and I know that can kind of get boring. But Jay Clayton is running the investigation into future Epstein probes, right? He's doing the follow-up on if anyone will actually be prosecuted. You know, Trump said, prosecute all the Democrats, Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, etc. And he was also in charge of turning over the core pieces of the Epstein files because those files are in the Southern District of New York, where Ghislaine Maxwell was tried, where Jeffrey Epstein was supposed to be tried, right? And he is so close with Epstein's inner circle, including Leon Black, who picked him to succeed him in his position as chair of Apollo Global Management, which he was kicked out of for paying Jeffrey Epstein $158 million to do his tax and estate planning, as if anyone has ever paid anyone that much. And so he's got these really close ties.
Wait, I thought he picked Mark Rowan. I thought Mark Rowan was the successor.
They were the dual successor. They were both. They were both picked. So it was both Mark Rowan and Jay Clayton. They shared it as chairman.
Got it.
Yeah. And he like announced it. He's like, after much, search and this and that. And so, which is another reason, like, Leon Black is actually in the files in an FBI presentation in which, like, for 3 women have accused.
There's so much bad evidence against Leon Black. He should be, he's sort of like, you see it all there with his case, and they had the information, and he just, no consequences.
So what's this Jay Clayton thing, though?
he was picked by him to work for him, and he worked for that firm that Leon Black
Holla.
retained a majority, like not majority, but a substantial 7%, stake in Apollo, in this company that he worked at less than a year ago.
So he shouldn't
And
be leading obviously conflict of
he
interest. Yeah.
probably knows a lot about the Epstein the investigation that they did at Apollo, which
Mhm.
I asked Apollo, did SDNY subpoena those documents? Like, did they ask you for for your investigation into his relationship with
Mhm.
Jeffrey Epstein? And they didn't. And so if
Mhm.
he's gonna now subpoena a place that he once worked at, plus until
No.
until August, he also worked at Sullivan and Cromwell, where he represented Reid Hoffman, who was also the target of the
Oh,
investigation.
yeah.
This guy is, like, so deeply entrenched in Epstein's inner circle. How can he lead any investigation into any future Epstein probes and really be trusted to turn anything over? I mean, even in the FBI's investigation, they include allegations against Leon Black, among others.
He should recuse himself,
Yeah.
obviously, but they won't. And that's like it's like even if you aren't in it directly, there's so much conflict where people are like owed each other from just various things.
They're just, like,
Mhm.
and, like, I think he was, like, married into, like, Leon Black is married into like, uh,
His son now
sister-in-law.
works with the administration for the International Financial Development
I wouldn't
Corporation.
be surprised. Yeah, and Marco
Ben
is on the
Black.
board of peace, so, like,
Yeah.
it's like a massive circle of, I'm not gonna use the word, but you know what I'm saying. Like, power policing itself, that is what is happening right now. Power policing itself, and that is why, for so many decades, this story remained unprosecuted. There was a sweetheart deal. It was because everybody knew everybody. There was a phone call to be made at the highest level. Ken Starr, Alan
And
Dershowitz.
Star yeah,
Yeah, Ken Starr
I
was involved
know.
in the first case, and it's like, and then it went all the way up to Bill Barr, whose father turned out
Zampoli, Paolo Zampoli also in there. Yeah.
Howard Lutnick, who didn't have a relationship with him, but wanted to go to his
Next door
island.
neighbor. Next door neighbor. Next door neighbor.
Epstein
Come on,
didn't
man.
like Lutnick. I'll say that. He wasn't
Yeah.
interested in him.
He didn't like Elon either. I mean, this is
No.
the thing. These people were such losers. Like the only joy that I got today out of this was reading, because I'm in like his whole sperm donation nasty world, is that Epstein had low T. And I was like, you know what? For all
I'm
of the like, because we're also seeing a lot of like teenage boys and awful people on like Reddit and 4chan and different places where they are like celebrating Jeffrey Epstein. They think it's very funny to think that Epstein,
What?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, you mean
because they don't know what
4chan?
it is.
Like Epstein
They
was
call
involved
him
in
Uncle
setting.
E, and they think it's funny because they're 12, 13, 14-year-old boys, and they're completely disconnected from the reality of this, and they're making stupid content about him and whatnot. And all I have to put into that world is he had low T.
They're being transgressive. They think it's funny.
They think
It's
it's
like
funny.
this is
I
like their
do
generation of
They think
transgression.
yeah, it's like how people thought joking about O.J. Simpson was funny, right? It's not, and
It's not.
but they're 12, they don't know what they're saying
Yeah.
really, but the internet is forever, fellas, and so there's that, but
Yeah.
it's yeah, there's a lot of gross and weirdness out there in the world. But this factors into the internet being toxic for men in general, which may now is Epstein Q? Did he start the manosphere? Like, I don't know. There's so many different rabbit holes people are on. But the looks maxing, which I'm convinced Peter Thiel is looks maxing now. Have you seen him lately?
What's looks
He
maxing?
looks terrible,
Looks
so
maxing is
no.
where the boys like chew on their cheeks to
He
try and make their
chisel mewing.
jawline super cut, the mewing thing that they do. Peter Thiel now has like some sort of surgery where he has like a jaw you could cut diamonds on right now, and he's always been a soft boy.
He should work on his skin.
So
I
I'm like
love
Peter Thiel's
how
looks maxing, the longevity, the gene editing, the fact that Epstein not only wanted to freeze his sperm, but was asking questions about like what the cryogenic viability of freezing his head and his penis would also be if it could be potentially like reanimated in the future, like MIT weird deep research stuff. Like there's so much freak shit out there that's why I had to take a break from reading it, because I was like, You will make yourself nuts with how many things these people were involved in and how much weird science they're involved
Well,
in.
they wanna be gods, they don't wanna
They
be
do.
human, and the
Yeah.
only way to reach that status is through science for them, right?
Mhm.
And so this is like and even when you look at his
Ketamine,
island and the
yeah.
weird sculptures and the idol tree and it kind of brings you back to
The
Eyes Wide
temple.
Shut a little bit,
Eyes
you
Wide
know?
Shut, yep.
Yeah.
Exactly, and
The
so it's all
Island,
the
directed by
eye
Michael Bay, also in the files.
Can I
it
ask
it's
a
just
can I ask a
yeah,
potentially irresponsible question? Do you
go
think
for
there's
it.
any chance he's still alive?
No.
Yeah.
Well, each of you should make the
I'm
case now.
so much more willing to be down in the anything is possible place right now, so maybe I'm not in a good place to answer, but my feeling is the emotional love that they had for him, I don't know, and I don't think Jeffrey Epstein would kill himself. I don't think his
No,
narcissism would allow for such a
no,
thing.
he was killed though. Like,
Sure.
yeah.
I mean,
No, I
maybe
mean,
Russia killed him. They do, like,
no,
push people out windows and shit,
no,
but
no, no, no. He died in the jail that the DOJ was in charge of. Like,
Apparently, there's now an orange blob now. I think I saw that in
I
passing. Don't
saw
Google
that.
that.
I
They made it
saw
he had
seem
that.
trapdoors
real.
to the ocean, for God's sake,
Yeah,
Allison
that
says.
was one of
Yeah,
the
maybe he
craziest.
was able to trapdoor out
Orange
of there.
blob in Epstein
I don't think we
photo.
ever see Epstein again, so in that way,
Oh
he's
no.
dead, but I don't think I don't
Oh,
know if
here it
I believe
is.
he could be alive somewhere.
No,
I
do
don't
you
know.
know
Why is there
why
so
people
much
think this?
Newly
fucking
released okay, guys, CBS I'm gonna stop for a second. CBS News, okay, who has done some of the most extensive and best reporting on this, by the way. They started 60 Minutes back in
yeah.
2019, showing us multiple ways in which Jeffrey Epstein could have died, multiple people who could have killed him. Like, they have been on this forever, 60 Minutes. And they say there's newly released video logs appear to contradict official accounts. Hold on. A flash or orange looks to be going up the L tier stairs, could possibly be an inmate escorted up to the tier. Dude,
Oh, like they brought someone in
flash
to
of
do it?
orange. Yeah, they're looking at it at the time code of the OIG's analysis of video footage.
Oh, I believe he was killed. I don't think he killed himself. I think either
No,
he
no one.
was killed or he's,
He
like,
didn't.
out there somewhere
No,
on his
the
own.
reason you know why
I'm
people
looking
think
at a
he was.
partial view of something orange, but I can't show you guys right now. But I
Yeah.
highly recommend you all
I will look
go
it up.
after this and go and look at this because it's pretty, it looks
Well,
orange too.
the reason that people think he's still alive is because his Fortnite account apparently showed up playing like last year or something in Israel. And when people pointed that out, he it went private or something.
Oh,
So
well,
yeah, I
his
don't know.
sperm is still on ice at the California cryobank, so if people I mean, I'm very interested in what has been done with that, and
And then there's a whole Reddit thing
goes on.
for there was a what?
I
What
said
you guys?
Rosemary Baby is in there.
He's people say he's got babies, eugenics. He had such low sperm motility, though, that I don't know that he would have actually been able to, outside of IVF, impregnate anybody, so he'd have to have, matched it up with, like, egg donors, and maybe that's where Nicole
Like,
Junkerman comes in, I don't know.
it's like, how people try to make women feel bad for,
Yeah.
having fertility issues. You're like, I love how you're trying to, like,
I'm like, Epstein's got low T and his sperm motility was 1.8, bros.
Ew.
It's shit. It's shit.
Well, the other thing too is, like, I feel like women are always, like, told, like, freeze your eggs, like, otherwise they're gonna be old eggs, and it's like, what about men? Like, your
Yep.
sperm gets older, it's closer linked to a number of other issues that children I'm like, "Freeze your sperm."
Yeah.
Why do we have to
Well,
do
he
all the
did
weird
because
shit?
There's so much
his
easier to freeze
urologist
too.
told him he was very, very low candidate for I mean, he couldn't do IUI. He couldn't naturally breed anybody for sure. No, but
Another theme is that they all have really weird looking dicks, is like
yes.
according to which makes so much sense, is like they want to be with a woman who wouldn't know the difference because she's so
Right,
young.
or that they could that wouldn't know the difference and that they could control for sure. I think they're
Any
weird. I
other
think
thoughts
a
on
lot of them read like the guy who never got a girl. They have very morbid curiosity about female bodies in a way that's like, you kind of figure that out when you're dating people your age and you're younger. You're like, show me yours, I'll show you mine. Like they never got that experience with girls when they were younger. They never had like some normal experience dating, and then they grew up and were like, okay, I'm gonna like fulfill all my morbid weird curiosities and like womb envy and control of women and trying to figure out how I could like build a world without them because they make me uncomfortable.
And that brought us back to right in the beginning.
Yep.
That they were obsessed with controlling women's fertility, weight, teeth, appearance,
Everything.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, like, Virginia talked about, like, it was one of the things that she spoke about the most was the food because they limited her food,
Mhm.
to keep them looking young, to make them look like little girls, and then, Adam Perry Lang, the chef, would give her food, and she felt, like, seen and fed, and that
Apology
was
fries. Let me tell you what
yeah,
those are. Like, as a former chef, when you know that the girls have had a hard time on the floor, maybe you were mean to them, the waitresses or whatever was going on, at the end of the night, you give them fries, and you're like, "Are we cool? There's some fries. I'm sorry I yelled at you today," or whatever happened.
carbs, babe.
Yeah, but that is what he
Carb
did.
less.
That is like chef
Yeah,
behavior. And the man went on to work for Mario Batali. So I have a lot of questions about Adam, but you know, if you were giving Virginia Giuffre apology fries at the end of the night, then you know that she had something wrong go wrong for her. Like that's a
yeah,
chef thing to feed somebody who had a bad day. And so I wish he would be more honest.
I
Him, the
know.
pilots, like, come on, guys. Like,
They're all living very comfortable lives now,
I
way
know.
more comfortably than, most pilots and chefs. Like, I remember going to their houses, and they're living in, like, beautiful gated communities, those
Yeah.
kind of, like, mini mansion, I forget what they're called, like a Mediterranean style home. It's just
Yeah.
they were paid really well to shut the F up and not
And are they
talk about
still
Maybe
paid?
they're
Like,
still paid.
Jeffrey's estate still generates money. I mean, I'd love to know. I think his
it.
brother's been fairly cooperative, but, like, how much so? Is it like, "I'll give you 20% because I wanna,"
Yeah.
And also, so
We
much of his
solved
investment
nothing,
is in
gals. We solved
Palantir,
nothing.
so
Yeah,
at
that's true.
Valar Ventures. So he's making a lot of money off Peter Thiel, who's doing very well these days.
Yep. We've solved nothing, but we had fun talking about it, I think. I don't know.
That is
There's
what
some
I'm trying to
healing to it.
wrap my head around. It's like, what do you do?
What
Like,
do we do?
you can't get accountability. Like, it's not realistic to think that will happen soon, but in the future, somebody, someone, we will have to remake things.
Well, I think this is
And
the thing I cling to with Congressman Garcia and even Ro Khanna and different people is, like, it will take actual generational power change before anybody's held accountable because they're so emotionally tied to either the nostalgia of the 90s and early 2000s and the lives they led, or they were financially invested by him. And I think that's why Garcia has a little bit more freedom to push a little harder because he's like, the people in the Epstein files of my generation were the victims, and so I'm more interested in helping them than I am protecting the older people who have, punished us in so many ways.
agree.
Yep.
Wow.
Thanks for hopping on, friends. I feel like we needed to do this for everybody being too involved. And Tara, you've been doing this for friggin' years, man. Like, what do you do to,
Yeah.
like, deal with it?
Stick my head in ice cold water and everything.
Really?
No,
Yeah.
no, I actually really appreciate your work. Like, I love your enthusiasm. I love what you're doing. Like, I think it's really detailed and, like, really some of the best journalism I've seen, like, on it, and I actually, like, I think about it, and I have, like, so much pride in the independent journalism world, and I'm so happy to be a part of it because, like, I know if I was sitting in a newsroom like I was in the past trying to report on Jeffrey Epstein, like, it wouldn't be happening. Like, I
Right.
couldn't do what I'm doing now, you couldn't be doing what you're doing now if we worked in mainstream media. How do I know this? Because when I worked obviously, ABC News, where I worked at, they didn't publish Virginia Giuffre's, interview, which, like, she worked so hard to get out of hiding to, like, actually sit down
Mhm.
with them and do that, to speak out for the first time. They never published that. Like, even now, you're not seeing live blogs anymore on CNN, really, of, like, the Epstein files. You're
Mhm.
not seeing the kind of rigor and, like, even Ellie Leonard, like,
No.
pulling that, like, file for me on Michael Cohen,
Mhm.
like, this is the kind of stuff that there's no interest even in the mainstream media of, like, what does this man know about our president's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? Like, you know, like, the places that the independent media is going, it's just like, I'm so happy that there are people that have platforms like you 2, that are reaching such, like, huge amounts of people and being responsible, like, I feel like you
Mhm.
are. I mean, some of the
Yeah.
things
We
are
try.
just, like, tips, like, they are, and it's like, you
I
know
haven't dealt with the tips and the Epstein stuff,
Yeah,
honestly, because it's so traumatic, and it's sort of like if I'm gonna hold true to telling people that the VAERS reports when they were saying there was all those vaccine injuries, you had to take with a grain of salt, then we have to take the tips the same way. These are unvetted, and they should be investigated, but they haven't been corroborated yet, so it's sort of less responsible to that point to just put out these salacious, crazy things also,
Yeah.
There's also so much
doesn't help anybody.
that is legit. It's like
That
you
we need
don't
to
need
do
to go to the
first.
stuff
Yeah.
that's
Or
not.
use the tip as a way to do further reporting and,
Sure.
like, actually figure out what like, how make some phone calls, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
do basic reporting, and I think, like, there's enough in there. And we're gonna get a lot more files to paint a picture of Epstein's world, the depravity, and, like, again, you know who I think you should believe? Like, the survivors.
Yeah.
Believe the
Yeah.
survivors, you know what I mean? Especially the ones who have come forward. Not to say that if you haven't come forward as a Jane Doe, but, like,
Sure.
if you've testified, before the court of law, you face perjury and you're telling your story, which requires so much strength. Like, we need to take these women at their words. They know the story. They've told the story over and over again. People won't believe them, refuse to believe them. And now there are files that show that they weren't crazy,
Right.
you know?
That's what I think. Start there. They're on record. Like, let's get them, front and center of the justice thing before we, keep adding stuff and trying to, like, put it in front because it might be more interesting for the moment. Like, there's so much to deal with that we don't need to add unverified tips to it also and drown them out in some ways. So, do you think that this has anything to do with Savannah Guthrie's mom going missing too? Because so many people have asked me that. Savannah Guthrie's mom has been abducted. Do you know about this?
So sad.
Yeah.
I know about it, and, like, I've
And they're
tried to.
like, it's tied to Epstein because she did the first interview with the 6 women, and I'm like, I don't know if that's true, but it just
I
seems
think,
really
like,
scary. Yeah.
I think what I think the story of what happened to Virginia is that, and sorry, not Virginia, Savannah, is that, like, we live in an age right now where people are willing to commit crimes against public people all the
Yeah.
time, and,
Yeah.
and it's
It's the
happening on both
stochastic
sides of the aisle.
terrorism. Yeah.
It's a type of
It
terrorism,
is.
and, I feel for her so
I
much.
know.
This is, like, one of the darkest types of ways to terrorize a person.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
and yeah, and I don't I mean, you could draw
Mhm.
any line to anything, but I don't see it being
Yeah.
connected to Epstein.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think it's like things
We'll
will
find out.
become more
Yeah.
clear with like they have to.
Yeah.
They have to. I hope so. We'll get more files too, 3,000,000, and then the Clintons are testifying, which is gonna
Girl,
be whoa.
Ghislaine Maxwell testifies on Monday. I'm going
What
down
about
to
like
the city.
Steve Bannon? Like what?
Steve,
What? Michael Wolff? Like why
Oh,
don't
yeah,
we
I
make
find
can't.
these
more
people?
people with low T.
Yeah, more people.
You should keep a list of that.
First of all, men with adult acne have estrogen problems, all right? I'm just telling you, man. Like, low T. That's how every dude that's in the Epstein files now I'm going to describe as low T with a weird dick. And I think that that's fair.
I think
I
you
agree.
should. That is
Yes.
that if they
And
we don't
and
actually
womb
make real
envy.
judgments
These are the
for a man.
ways we have to talk about it. Low T, weird dick, womb envy. That's destroys it. Yeah, nobody wants to be on the side of those guys.
Womb envy
Gross.
is a real thing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
All right,
sick
guys.
fucks.
All right, homies. Thanks so
Go
And
much.
that's where
We'll
I'll
see you
leave
guys
you.
later. Bye.
love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you too. Bye.